Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to minute 49 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and for this episode, I'm being joined by a very special co-host.
Thom Mathews, Freddy of Return of the Living Dead.
Exactly.
Brains,
So,
Tina! Tina!
Nice. I do want to state that Thom is being gracious enough to give me this time and all that, even though he is currently suffering a bit of a cold and all that. So again, thank you, Thom, for doing this for me. First of all, before we actually get into it, could I just quickly ask you, what are your recollections about getting the role of Freddy? Like, what went into it for you?
Yeah, I got the call from the casting director to send over size, and I looked at him and I wouldn't read for the casting director, Stanzi Stokes, and she gave me a call back, and next thing I knew, I was reading for Dan and one of the producers, and thought I nailed it, but I didn't hear anything for a long time.
Oh no.
9 months.
Oh, ouch.
I thought I thought they had already shot the movie and it was like already in post-production and stuff like that, but I got a call back 9 months later. I go to the call back.
Yeah.
And I was misinformed. It was not a callback. I was already cast in reading for the girls who were going to play Tina.
Oh, okay.
Emily Randolph ended up landing. Yeah.
Right.
So that's how I found out I got the part 9 months later. Unusual. What happened was they had a legal hiccup in the for the title of the movie. So
I see.
I wanted to get that ironed out.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So technically you basically got the role. You just didn't know you had the role until much later then.
Correct.
Excellent. All right. That's fast. You know what? I believe that's from all the research that I've done over the months that I've been doing this. I think that's the first time I've heard that story, which is, I mean, you obviously probably have told it at different conventions and all that sort of thing that you've been to. I've yet to have the privilege of seeing any of you guys in person at any conventions in at least the Toronto area where I'm around. But yeah, no, that's fascinating. All right, so let's just get into this minute. So this particular minute is going to start with confirmation about faulty equipment and ends with nailing the basement door shut. So we continue from the previous minute in the embalming room of the Resurrection Funeral Home. Ernie, whose business this is, stands in the back end of the group. To his side stands his longtime friend Bert, the owner of the nearby Unita Medical Supply Warehouse. Bert's arms crossed, watches vigilantly as his employees, Frank and Freddy. They are slumped down, shivering, blankets wrapped around them as much as they can, on a small leather sofa. Both men have digital thermometers placed between their lips, each having a blood pressure cuff securely wrapped around their right biceps. The latest to join this group are the matching yellow raincoat paramedics, the providers of the equipment being used on the obviously sick gentleman. In response to his partner's previous question about the questionable working about his own equipment, the first paramedic questions if there is a fault in the tools that they are using.
Well, are you sure it's the equipment?
The second paramedic questions the question to have the first paramedic confess his experiencing the same result.
What do you mean? Well, I'm not getting anything on this either.
They quickly glance at each other, and with a quick hand gesture, they decide to swap patients. Confused by the activity, Freddy voices his concern.
What do you mean? What's wrong? What's wrong?
His voice mumbling slightly from the thermometer in his mouth. As the first paramedic stands to shift sideways, to now work on Frank, he gives Freddy a reassuring tap on the knee. As the second paramedic drops to his knees in front of Freddy, taking his stethoscope that was around the back of his neck, he informs Freddy of the decision to get a second look.
It's all right. We just need to double check.
As he places the stethoscope in his ears, the first paramedic checks the digital readout. His face turns sour. He now, still checking back at the display, places his fingers on Frank's throat near his jugular, his expression becoming that of concern. While this is going on, the second paramedic working on Freddy goes about using the blood pressure readings. Sliding the microphone end under the strap, he also leans forward, pumping the pressure bulb in his hand a few times. Noticing there's no results, he pulls off his stethoscope and relays his finding, to which his partner responds with his own.
No blood pressure. No pulse.
On a close-up of Freddy, we see his brow furl, his gray skin shining with sweat, his eye sockets and cheeks sunken, his purple-chapped lips quake as he repeats both responses from the paramedics, but filled with questioning concern.
What do you mean, no blood pressure, no pulse?
Yeah, that was a major shift when we realized things had really gone south for us, James, Karen, and I.
Yeah.
It was so much fun just, hanging out with him and being next to him and being his sidekick and stuff. So that was probably a scientific analysis for us that we weren't doing well, and it didn't look like we were going to get any better.
Well, that's the other thing too. I've mentioned it several times throughout the previous minutes of this podcast, is that you and James Karen seem to have such amazing chemistry together. Like all your scenes together, whether he's scolding you or you're working together to solve a problem, or he's joking around with you and all that sort of thing. You guys just, so it's almost like you guys have like known each other forever.
You know what's weird? On the second one that we got cast together,
right? Yeah,
we found out we were born on the same day.
You share the same birthday?
We share the same
birthday.
Yeah, November 28th. So maybe that's
maybe there was some sort of kismet or something like that. That's why you guys gelled so well.
Sagittarians and stuff.
Nice.
And the reason, I don't know if you know this, but the reason why we came back in part 2 was because of the Japanese. They had the script, wanted to make a second one.
Right.
So what they used to do is they used to take they used to go to the distributors in the foreign countries and pre-sell the idea. And when they went to Japan, they said, absolutely, it's a huge hit here, but can you please bring back James, Karen, and Thom Mathews somehow? Because they were sensational and they're big fans.
Yeah.
So that's why we were in part 2.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's kind of cool. All right.
So we celebrated our birthday every year until he passed.
That's fantastic. Oh, man, that's, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been 101.
This year? Wow. Yeah. That's a fantastic actor. I mean, his career is so broad and so fantastic. It's yeah. I mean, when I discovered, basically, I think I discovered obviously both you and him during this movie. But then when I went back to reflect other movies that I had seen prior to this, I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy from, and not realizing how many times I had seen James Karen in previous movies, just not until I recognized his face. But I mean,
a lot of people know him as the Pathmark Man. Back east, there's a supermarket called the Pathmark.
Okay.
It's he's from New York, so he did the voiceover and the specials, weekly specials, and probably a commercial every month for the Pathmark supermarket chain.
Oh, really?
So if you're from the Northeast and you know the Pathmark, he was the Pathmark guy.
Oh, that's fast. That's a fascinating thing.
30 years, he was doing that.
Wow. That's so great.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the minute. Freddy gets hushed and told calmly to relax.
Shh, take it easy.
There's a beeping sound, and the first paramedic pulls the thermometer from Frank's mouth, then tilts the display so that he can see it. Out of curiosity, Bert leans over to look at the display. The paramedic turns the display away and glances at Bert. His partner, now checking the display for Freddy, when he sees the number, he turns to his partner and asks for his results. He replies,
What do you have?
"For going with just a number."
70.
Freddy questions what the number means, and the second paramedic gives a bit more information.
70 what?
70 degrees.
When Freddy further pushes for more, the second paramedic almost huffs the comparison of the temperature that the displays are reading.
So what's that?
Room temperature.
Using Freddy's leg to help him up, the second paramedic stands up while Ernie and Bert clock his movements. It isn't until he taps his partner on the arm that breaks him out of his slight trance. He motions the need for a private conversation, and both pass on either side of Bert,
Want me for a second? I want to talk to you.
who steps aside. As they are about to pass Ernie, Ernie tries to join them, but is stomped when the first paramedic pushes him away with a hand on Ernie's chest. On the sofa, the still slumped bodies of Frank and Freddy shiver on, eyes closed. As the two men have a whispered conversation, Frank lurches forward slightly to raise the white bucket that has been between his legs. Overly concerned, Freddy asks for confirmation of the conversation.
What are you guys saying?
Both Ernie and Bert look back and forth between the medics and the patients. When Freddy watches as the paramedics keep their voices low enough so that no one else can hear, he raises his voice angrily, repeating his previous question.
What are you guys saying?
Meanwhile, outside the bricked-up loading docks of the Unita Medical Warehouse, the night sky is still raining heavily. From the high angle of the shot, we can see the Resurrection Cemetery wall in the distance, Suicide's abandoned vehicle just outside its gates. The sound of crying and hammers overlay the shot. We briefly jump inside to witness the group of 6 clustered around the basement door. Spider, wailing away on the nails securing a 2x4 to the doorframe. This is the 4th plank of wood. To his side is Chuck, lending his assistance. The rest stand by in different forms of shock after witnessing their friend's suicide being killed by the creature they hope is trapped downstairs. The most devastated of the situation is Trash, as she is clearly the one crying out in fear and sorrow. And that's where we end this minute. All right, so can I just ask you again, while I've got you here, can I ask you like your thoughts of, like, we know you and James Cameron fabulous together, but knowing that Clu Gallagher was a late addition to the cast, what were your impressions and thoughts of Clu himself?
Well, Clu's a very serious guy, and when he took the role, I think he considered it beneath him. Not to mention, he was hired in the 11th hour, and he didn't get to partake in our rehearsals for 2 weeks, which would have been a huge benefit to us. And would have certainly taken some of the stress off of him, because he, as you know, he had a lot of dialogue. So a very serious guy, a lot of dialogue, a lot of stress. So, but he and I got along great. We're fine. He was didn't think much of the movie, and then over the years, he kind of saw the genius of it after a while, and had admitted so much so. So, good guy, acting coach here in LA.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Nice. All right, so we now go to, I do the over on the commentary track, which this commentary track for the DVD that I am pulling my information from is with Dan O'Bannon, the writer and director, and also William Stout, who's the production designer. So during this particular minute at the commentary track, Dan O'Bannon offhandedly mentions rain. He then mentions that the next picture he directed had a lot of rain in it, and how some of it was real as they shot up in Vancouver, where it rains all the time. But when they didn't, they brought in the machines. William Stout then asks if it was the movie Resurrected, and then Dan O'Bannon confirms that, mentioning how he's qualified with rain machines. William Stout then ends how sometimes watching his crew assemble the rain machines was like watching the Three Stooges building the pyramids. Dan O'Bannon admits that he rather use fog as an effect, and it's because it's so much easier to use. Rain has so much against itself to be worth it, and a lot of effort has to go into the effect of rain on the screen. William Stout adds how it's not as simple as turning on a tap. One has to make sure it's falling sideways or on an angle. And then Dan O'Bannon concludes that it also has to look like it's going on into infinity, whereas some movies miss that. So it's another interesting thing that I've discovered over doing the commentary track for the movie is how Dan O'Bannon is he's very sometimes harsh on himself. He knows when he's made a mistake, he will point it out. But when he sees something that he really likes, he definitely toots his own horn as he's very proud of what has come across. Was he like that on set and all that sort of thing? Was he a very interactive director, or how was it dealing with
He,
Dan
he
O'Bannon?
was, for me, he was. I always saw him, I always thought he saw himself as my character. So he kind of treated me with kid gloves. And again, it's probably the one of the most enjoyable filming experiences I've ever had,
Well,
looking
that's
back.
fantastic to
And
hear.
the more I had, the
Hmm.
more I appreciated it. It was truly a collaboration. I mean, James Kieran and I, we talked about it every scene, and then we would kind of work out the little details and bring it to Dan,
Right,
and
right.
never heard no, which was unusual for a writer director
Yes, exactly.
because they
Yeah.
spend a lot of time doing the writing and
Right.
they have their own images and visuals and stuff. But he's a smart director, and
Hmm.
he, if your actors are honest, and it's going to come across on screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was really important. Um, for example, James Cairns, which you haven't got to the minute, his death scene,
Yes, yes. Yes.
that was that was his whole idea.
Yep, his excuse to get out of being in the rain.
Yes, exactly. And I thought it was a very poignant moment before he turned full zombie to
I oh,
having
it's
the peace of mind to take
yeah.
himself.
It's a very emotional sequence, especially for the ending of a character, and it's just a
Yeah,
brilliant way. And the fact that it was not originally in the script, which is
right.
another fantastic thing to
Yeah,
say, and it was actually James's idea to begin with, is even more
yeah.
brilliant. So yes. Also, his way to
Selfish.
avoid getting yes, exactly.
Yeah,
His
selfish
way to
idea.
avoid getting wet.
I've
Yeah.
got an idea.
So when you said collaborative, that means like my next sequence is where I compare the script, the minute of the script to the final play. So
Uh-huh.
when people have different lines that aren't in the script and all that, that's actually you guys on that's like, how about I say this line, or wouldn't it sound better if this person said this line? That's basically how it came about.
Yeah, pretty much. It was
All
more
right.
more about ourselves doing. I would never suggest someone say a different line
Mm,
or add a line. It happens, but that's not my job. But
yeah.
like one of the famous lines at the conventions, which just came out of me while we were filming, even after rehearsing it several times. Like this job. So that's not in the script, as you probably
No,
know.
it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating to
And
find
that
out when I was like,
organically came out of me based on James's
yeah,
reading of it. It was like, are you out of your mind like this job? So that was another one of those
yeah,
moments.
that's fantastic. That's,
There's
I mean,
there's
yeah,
several of them.
yeah. All right, so like I said, we're according to the script. This is a, story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. We're
Mhm.
doing with the revision from October 1983, and again, it's based on the story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. So we begin with interior, mortuary, and bombing room, night, rain. Paramedic number 2. Are you sure it's the stethoscopes? Paramedic 1. What do you mean? Paramedic 2. I'm having trouble getting a pulse on this one too. The paramedics switch patients. Freddy. What do you mean? What's wrong? The paramedics do not answer. They just continue to listen to Frank and Freddy's pulses. Paramedic number 1. No blood pressure. Paramedic 2. No pulse. Freddy. What do you mean, no blood pressure, no pulse? Frank, yeah. Paramedic, shh. The two paramedics bend over their instruments and in silent concentration. Frank and Freddy stare at them with growing horror. One of the thermometers beeps, then the other. The paramedics take them out of the patient's mouths and look at them. Paramedic number 1, what do you have? Paramedic number 2, 70. Freddy, 70 what? Paramedic, 70 degrees. Freddy, what's that?
Room temperature.
To paramedic number 1, come over here for a second. I want to talk to you. The two paramedics walk over to the corner of the room and hold a whispered conference, glancing over at Freddy and Frank. Freddy, what? What are you guys saying? Pauses. 70 degrees is room temperature. Cut to interior warehouse, night, storm outside. The punks, Tina, Meat, Dee Dee, Chuck, Casey, and Scuzz, are finishing hammering the bunch of nails into the cellar door. They get quiet. Now, again, as I keep pointing out every single time it comes up, this version of the script, the names of Meat and Dee Dee are actually Spider and Trash, respectively. So, and that's where we reach the minute of our
Wow,
end of that. So yeah, exactly. It's like I think a page and a half of stuff that just goes through in a minute, and it's what it seems to be. Like you usually shoot a minute of film as a minute page of the script and all that sort of thing, and it is sort of lining up that way. So I'm at minute 47, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm on page 57 of the actual script. So
cool.
All right, now to finish this off, we do a work print comparison where we take the fully shot film. When they get everything that they are going to shoot, they bring it into one giant print, and then they chop it down to edit down to a final version. So for example, the minute that we're dealing with, which is minute 48 to 49, we are in the work print the work print version is actually minute 57:03 to 58:06. So it's just a couple of seconds longer than the actual footage, but we're also almost 10 minutes more footage at this point, which again is another fascinating thing. As a longtime fan of this movie, I'm watching the work print as I go minute by minute. So I've known about it for like a couple of months since I started this project, and I've decided, okay, I'm going to give myself the extra little treat of seeing the extra footage, the longer cuts of things, the different versions, the line deliveries that get dubbed differently into the final version. It's just such a fascinating thing to see, which coming from a person who enjoys films and all that sort of thing, seeing this extra footage is just a wonder. So yeah.
Where did you get to see it?
The work print itself?
Yeah.
It's online. You can actually I was able to it's not the greatest of copies. It's very grainy. It's because it's obviously the original film print that has been just transferred over to VHS. That's probably been digitized. So it's very grainy, but it's also nice because there's no music soundtrack, there's no extra sound effects. You can hear like crew members off stage cueing you guys when there's supposed to be a bang or when I come up in here, as I point out, when the machines are supposed to beep, you hear a guy off camera going beep, and then the one guy, and then beep, and then the other guy checks, and it's really great. So as the minute of this scene plays on, we are witness to one of my personal actual favorite techniques, the oneer or continuous shot. In the final film, this sequence gets chopped up with two inserts, close-ups shots of Freddy. But if you go back to 55:32 to 58:03, it's one continuous shot, which is personally one of my favorite things. Like everything just happening all at once, all in one shot, no edits and all that sort of thing. Everyone delivering their lines and knowing that if anyone messes up, you got to reset and do it all over again. So it's really nice to see it come continuously in one full shot. Plus, in the final version, after Freddy loudly asks for what the paramedics are saying, it cuts to the exterior shot of "You need a medical," but they'll come back to that in a second. In the work print, after Freddy questions the paramedics, they make a rest assured gesture and then relay that they're to the others that they are just discussing their equipment. And in the work print, it does not have the exterior shot of the warehouse, but it does show the footage of the group outside the cellar steps and the audio that overlays the final version shot of the warehouse exterior comes from here. So yeah, so it's always a fascinating way to see, oh, that's an added shot, because a lot of the like effects were not completed and all that sort of thing. Like
Right.
the under the ground zombie crawling up near the about to break through sequence and all that is not in the work print. There's a placeholder picture and all that sort of thing as a storyboard and whatnot. So it's always fascinating to see what gets added later on and all that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that pretty much wraps up my part of the whole entire thing. Is there anything that you want to talk about this particular minute? If there's anything that you want to point out about this particular minute that you'd like to get across?
No, just like I said earlier, just a joyful time to be working, young
Hmm.
actor.
Yeah.
The cast with James Kieran and the whole cast for the most part, it was just a great experience for me. And yeah, that's it. Um, yeah, I've just been doing the horror conventions and things like that, which have been a lot of fun. I think I've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
10 more to do this year
Well, with the
because
40th
it
anniversary,
is our
yeah.
40th
Yeah.
anniversary, and yeah, we're all gonna.
Now you're traveling with a pretty big group of the cast, are you not? Like,
We are
yeah, excellent.
Days of the Dead's in Indianapolis on June 13th and
Oh, okay.
15th that weekend. So Beverly and Miguel and Alan, the Tar Man, and
Yeah.
uh Linnea,
Yeah.
John Feldman, the
Yeah,
whole.
they're a fantastic group of
So
actors and all
it's
that.
been a
Yeah.
lot of fun,
Yeah, no, that's great. That's also a great thing that you guys can 40 years later still
We
have fun.
can, yeah, and we still get along, We
That's
have
great.
had our ups and downs
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
throughout the years and stuff,
yeah,
but like any family, I guess.
yeah. So, just to point out that you yourself have like because Freddy is an iconic character. Throwing on that satin jacket and all that with the "fuck you" on the back is just a mainstay.
You know,
Your green.
Dan made two jackets. Do you know about this?
Yes. Yes. And but you know what? Nobody I've scoured everywhere. I've gone through like Reddit posts.
Can
I've
you
gone
see it
through
in the work print at all?
No, there's no it's all from what I've seen so far, it's
No
just
way.
the original version. I have no one can find any pictures. I've
I
gone through
put it
Tumblr
on. I
posts and
remember
all that.
that's the jacket I wish I would have kept too.
Exactly, exactly. So I had
For those
me
of you
person
who don't know what we're talking
Yes,
about,
exactly. Yes.
Dan made two jackets. One said F you, and then he thought maybe it might be on television. So he had another jacket made that said TV
TV
version,
TV version. Yes, yeah,
which is
exactly. Yeah.
hysterical.
Which is fantastic because of course you would have to
Right.
keep from editing and all that sort of thing. So
Right.
you shot basically reshot all the scenes where you're wearing that jacket
At
again with
least
the
once
yeah,
that
yeah, exactly. So it's got to be
because
out there somewhere.
it does.
But the weird thing is, from all the research that I've done, and again, I've done
Wow.
this, I've run into other people that are like, no, I haven't been able to find it. I've been searching for years
Wow.
for this and all that. No one has even a VHS copy filmed off of TV. The only versions that I personally had was the first time I saw it. I taped it off of the Canadian version of HBO called Super Channel, and it was the full version of it. It was the
Right.
R version of the movie. That's how I first saw it and all
Right.
that sort of thing.
Oh
But yeah, no,
man.
the I've never seen a television broadcast version that
Huh.
has the television
I
version
still get I should go
jacket.
back and look at my residuals because they do play it on TV and see
Oh,
what.
really?
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
that would
Okay.
be an interesting way to track it down.
That would be, yeah,
They could,
exactly.
and I mean, if it was on TV and I wasn't wearing the TV version jacket, they could always just kind of fog it
Blur
out.
it or something like that. Yeah, that would probably be a one way around it and all that. But other than Freddy being an iconic character, you also have another iconic horror character as from the Friday the 13th series that I would be amiss to not actually ask you about your time as Tommy. I mean, how did that come about?
Well, it's funny because I shot that only a year later. Next year's our 40-year anniversary
Well,
for
of
Trying to
yes,
Live.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah.
So that was within the 12 months. And I years ago, I asked the director if he had seen or heard about my involvement in, Return of the
Yeah.
Living. He goes, no, we didn't, had no idea about it. We just cast you from the callbacks, and that was really
That's how brilliant of an actor you are. There you go.
that's
You got
how.
the you got the job without anyone else
But
knowing about
it's funny,
Freddie.
people at the conventions will come up to my table and go, "Oh, I
Yeah.
love this movie. Oh, I love this movie. That was you in both of them." And that's when they have the realization. It's like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." It said, "Yeah, well, the first one was kind of more of a character, and I was a character." And
Yeah, yeah.
Tommy Jarvis was probably the closest I've been cast to myself.
Ah, okay, okay.
I didn't really have a lot. Yeah, it kind of plays it more close to the vest and didn't have a lot of character. I did do my research and watched 1 through 5 because that was about
Right, yeah.
they were out, and I was trying to tap into Corey or John's
Yeah.
interpretation of Tommy Jarvis to
Yep.
bring over any kind of mannerisms or
Yeah.
anything. Nothing really stood out.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, that's got to also be a difficult thing to do because you're entering a role that two other actors have already
Yes.
portrayed in a
Yeah.
franchise that like giant groups of people watch and all that.
Right.
So it's but again,
Part 5 wasn't really received that well, so
no, it unfortunately it wasn't.
so
Yeah, but
yeah, so
the return to a actual like you're the one responsible for the
well, Tom
returning.
McLaughlin was. I mean,
Yeah,
his vision and his old school horror, love
yeah.
and
No, I
he,
understand what you're saying.
he,
Yeah,
he was a true and
yeah.
you've got the franchise, and you have to have
Hmm.
so many kills, and you have to have this and
Exactly,
all that
exactly.
stuff. So he had those constraints to
Right.
deal with. And to get a love story in there, and
Yeah,
to
yeah.
really care about the characters and form and stuff like that was an
Right.
amazing job.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, again, Tom, I want to thank you for your time for this.
my pleasure.
I'm hopefully maybe a little ways down the line, I can maybe pull you back for maybe another episode if you're
Absolutely,
feeling a
when
little
I'm like
better.
full-blown zombie. We
Exactly,
talk
exactly.
about that.
Actually, that's what I was actually going to actually suggest if you were, because
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to have you in for a sequence where it's at the very least you and Tina are involved. I would love for
Uh-huh.
to hear more
Sure.
about that sort of interaction and maybe when like
Ready?
spider exactly. Again, thank you audience, thank you for joining me on this journey. It's nice to see that the numbers keep increasing slowly but surely. Those of you on YouTube, I love you guys the most because your numbers are spectacular.
Fantastic.
If anyone else out there listening or watching has knowledge of anyone else that would be interested in this, please pass this on to them. We got freaking Thom Mathews involved,
Absolutely, man.
especially in this
It's
particular
a great
episode.
thing you're doing. It's just mind-blowing. 97 minutes, 97 episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're all in.
Yeah, it's going to be taking me until February of 2026. So at a weekly basis, but yeah.
Fantastic.
Hey there, this is future editor Troy here with an additional bit of information that I forgot to bring up during the recording session with Thom. At this moment, I would like to point out the Return of Living Dead originals. The Return of Living Dead originals are not working with Living Dead Media LLC, so anything purchased from Living Dead Media does not go towards the cast. On the site, you will find information about appearances of the cast members, pictures from past conventions, as well as merchandise guaranteed from the cast and profit in them as well. So check out trotldoriginals.com for more and check out the show notes for a link.
So hopefully, like I said, hopefully I can get Thom back here for a future
For sure.
episode. Hopefully, maybe he might want to talk to some of his co-stars, and I don't know, maybe send them
Yeah,
my way
sure.
as well.
I'm sure Miguel would love to do it. I mean,
I
just
would love to
let
have.
me know
Oh
what
my
you think.
God, I
Beverly,
have.
I'm
I
sure I know Beverly would do it in a heartbeat. That would
All
be
right, I have a guest host that has the biggest crush on Miguel that she's always talking about. She always is like, yes, Miguel's my guy, sort of
yeah.
thing, and all that. So that
He
would
was
be sweet.
homeless while we were
Yes, I
filming.
know
He
that is
was
a fascinating part of his
sleeping
story
in the
too.
car, and we found out during a Q&A, and no one had any idea.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a positive energy, just shows up and just never a bad word for anybody.
All
But yeah,
right.
anybody. Alan, you already got Alan. I
Yeah, I
know
already got
John,
Alan for an
John
interview, and
Tobin
which was
was up to
fantastic
it.
as well.
Yeah.
So yes. All right. So again,
Okay. Thanks,
one
Troy.
last time. You are so
Sure.
welcome, but I have to thank you so much for this. This is amazing. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, audience. I've got nothing else to say, but see you next Wednesday.
Peace out. Take care.
You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want to Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
No, you look perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be in focus. I'm not using the actual footage at any point or anything like that. So, I want to thank you for doing this. This is spectacular. This is
Sure, man.
amazing. This is the
I've been talking to a lot of people about what you're doing. I think it's fantastic.
oh well. That I mean that really is a fantastic thing to hear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then I'll introduce myself as the host, and then I'll give you basically this episode. I'm being joined by a special guest co-host, and then if you would like to introduce yourself, so okay.
You got it.
All right.
Okay.
And then if you want to put on any sort of like Instagram handle or anything like that, whatever you want and all that, we can deal with rest of the stuff at the end of the episode as well. Okay.
I don't need people reaching out to me anymore.
I've already lost my line. Hey, there we go. Group. All right. Oh, that's fantastic. This was great. We got it in one recording and all that sort of thing. That'll be great.
Awesome.
We still got like 4 minutes left to this clock and all that. But I again, thank you. I mean, I know you got the cold and all that sort of thing, but I appreciate you getting through it and all that sort of thing.
Well, minute 48, 49 only happens one time. So
exactly. So yeah, so I mean, this will be kind of thrilling. I can't wait to start, because I was, the previous episodes have been hinting that something's coming up, but until I actually got your like, yes, let's do it. I'm like yes. So all my co-hosts that I constantly am in contact with, they're all like, so who are you recording today? And I'm like, today I'm recording with Thom Mathews, and everyone's like, yes. So yeah.
Awesome.
So again, thank you. We're about to run out of time, so before that actually happens, I will say thank you once again. I will keep in contact with you.
Yeah, for sure.
This is,
and whoever's coming up, let me know. Maybe a week or two notice, and super.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, sir. Okay, and you have yourself a good evening, and
thank
get
you.
better. Okay, get better.
Take my vitamin C. Yeah.
You got a crap load of conventions that you got to go to, and those are the worst for getting colds. Oh my God. All right. Talk to you later, Tom. Thank you once again.